Hour 2 Overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We'll have a Game 5 SGP a little bit later this hour. And the game can be heard right here on TSN Radio. It is a must-win for the Leafs. And in terms of feeling limited pressure for Florida, it's not far from that for them as well. They lose tonight. Florida loses tonight, and all of a sudden, it's a very different vibe flying back down to South Florida. Very, very different vibe.
They don't want 7, for sure. They don't want to get it back up here. They can't. To me, I think Game 7 would be, advantage Leafs.
Absolutely.
Not just because of home ice, but just, now you've lost 3 in a row. That's,
right.
I think.
And everything gets thrown out. The Leafs history in Game 7s, all that kind of stuff,
right.
I think gets thrown out because of how you build yourself back into the series. Right, if the Leafs can win 3 in a row here, they will be a huge favorite in Game 7. They're a big favorite tonight. And I feel good about them playing well tonight. I thought
think Florida's won 6 in a row. They did win 6 in a row, and they were dogs in every game.
Yes, because it was...
And they were a dog the last game.
Absolutely. It was just constantly Boston, Toronto, even the books. I think that had more to do with where the money was coming in. Right. A lot of money in Boston coming in on the Bruins. A lot of money in Toronto coming in on the Leafs.
Yeah.
I saw on FanDuel, there were people hammering Joseph Wall to win the Conn Smythe. After one game and one win.
That's
because you're getting great odds.
A fan base, dude.
But the odds are there. You're getting great odds naturally because he didn't even play in the first round. There's no guarantee he plays once Samsonov's back to 100%.
Did you just say people were hammering it?
Hammering might be strong, but there was money coming in on Joseph Wall. FanDuel, I believe I saw a courtesy of either FanDuel or someone at TSN saying, there was money coming in on Joseph Wall to win the Conn Smythe.
So that's just smart. That's...
Well, you're banking on a story at that point, right? If the Leafs get off the mat and they go on a run, they actually go all the way to a cup final, and he's the guy, that's what you're banking on. If not, it's a complete donation.
Right.
It's a complete
But donation. It seems like a donation. Just even because it's not like he took over Game 2 of the playoffs. This is a second round, Game 5, really Game 4. So he would have to, they would have to go all the way and win. And he might not even be the guy. It might be Marner. It might be whoever else helps them to get there.
Could be Samsonov, maybe.
Right.
I don't see Samsonov starting again this round. I think if they keep winning and Wall keeps playing well, I think Joseph Wall keeps playing.
Yeah,
because Samsonov was on the ice today. Matthew Nye's on the ice today. And Keith said they've made developments and they're feeling better. We still don't know exactly what the issue is with Samsonov.
But with both of them, though, when you got a winning lineup, it's a tough deal. You're not getting back in there.
I don't see it like you. Unfortunately, Nye's is a little bit different because there's just more to that position.
You can make a call on that if you're going back to Florida. Maybe slide him in there if someone has an off game. It's not written in stone that you don't insert a guy after a win. But it would be tough, man.
Yes.
I think the Wall is more correct.
Yes.
Not so much Nyes. I think if he's available, you can find a spot for him. Whereas if Samsonov's available, but they're still winning, I don't know. That's a coin flip where you're are we, I'm going to play a hunch.
I'm not doing that. Even if it's a 9-8 game tonight and a mess, I just think you're going to stick with whatever kept you in the series.
Well, hold on. Let's paint a picture. 9-8, he gets pulled after 6, and Matt Murray comes in and wins.
Well, then maybe I'd hammer Matt Murray.
I would say, just there's always difference.
Matt Murray backing up against him?
Yeah, Matt Murray's backing up. Absolutely.
Matt Murray is available to play tonight if Joseph Wall gets injured or is not very good. Mm-hmm. He's available. He's wearing like he was last game.
He's a NHL professional goaltender.
They had an option to start him last game. They didn't. They chose Joseph
and
Wall.
They made the right decision. And with the way Wall played. Now, this is a different beast because now he's playing at home, right? And he's played in this building before, but not starting a must-win playoff game at Scotiabank Arena. And I don't know what that might change for him. Florida was saying it today. I think it was Nick Cousins was like, we don't even know who this guy is. I'm paraphrasing, but basically we don't know who he is, and we got to make his life difficult. The same thing applies with Bobrovsky, though. They know who he is. Bob's been around a long time. But you got to get way more traffic in front of him, way more shots on net, and
they got to make his life difficult.
They've got to make his life difficult.
Steamrolling. I don't know.
I think that would be significant also for a statement. Like if it's one thing you'll take any possible win if you're the Leafs, but if it's a wow, they're alive type of performance, which is what should be expected. What can stop it is Florida also is alive, and then you get a great game. But there's no excuse for the Leafs not to be flying tonight.
Flying.
Like, absolutely flying. And I expect that to be the case because, again, I thought if they were going to roll over, even if they did so subconsciously, it would have been Wednesday night. Yeah, it would have been Game 4. Like, once you've flown back up, Game 5, you're in front of your fans. Give them something tonight. Like, you owe it to them. Fans are going to show up tonight. You owe it to yourself. I think if the Leafs are rocking, Florida doesn't show up, then you're talking go time at that point. All right, joining us now on the Maple Toyota Hotline, here's our TSN hockey analyst, Mike Johnson. Johnny, the Leafs have gone 6 straight now in the playoffs, scoring 2 or less. How would you handicap the chances of that changing tonight?
I would say it's better than 50-50 that they get 3. I don't know if they're going to get 7. Sergei Bobrovsky's got a lot to do with this. If he stays on top of his game, no matter what you do, it's going to be hard to get more than 3 or 4 against him. But I mean, I guess I'm hearing what you're saying, and like, it seems unlikely that the expectation that they would steamroll anything at this point. Yes, the expectation is energy, passion, emotion, commitment, all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is they haven't scored more than 2 in a while. And the team they're playing against makes it hard to score goals. So they can do a lot of good things like they did last game, and they didn't. They scored 2. And so I would think the game would very likely be, 3-2, 3-1, 4-2, something like that. And that's if the Leafs play really well. The only way that maybe changes is if Bobrovsky has a bad game. And maybe he's due for one. He's been 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks now where he's been really, really good. If he has a bad game, maybe then they maybe get some goals. But it's been bad at home. It's been inability to score goals. Austin Matthews hasn't got one yet in the series. There's a lot of things that should be due to happen. The Leafs could really use them happening tonight.
Yeah. That one's got to happen.
Yeah, Johnny, that's what I was going to say.
Matthews has to score.
What do you need to see for that to happen? Like, is there one thing that you've watched in the last couple games that maybe you just say in a pre-scout going, this needs to happen, and I think we can break that levee. We can create more chances.
More power plays. I mean, the more this series is played 5-on-5, the more it favors Florida. Mm-hmm. Toronto's got better special teams, flat out. And so that would be a good start. Some power plays. The other thing for Austin Matthews that I'd like to see is him taking the puck out of piles, which he does all the time because he's very good defensively, good stick, pokes it loose, and then skating away from the guys chasing him. Like right now when you watch him, he's poking the puck, he's paddling hard, but he's not getting any separation. The guy who he's fighting for the puck with is right there fighting him the whole way up the ice. I want to see him poke it off someone at the hash marks in his own end, 4 powerful strides, and he has 7 feet of space by center. If I see that, then you think, okay, good things are coming because when he's skating like that, the rest of the game seems to fall into place. Now, Florida deserves credit. They check hard. They're good skaters themselves. They can get up and down the ice. But that's what I'd like to see out of Austin Matthews as a precursor to start scoring.
Johnny, can you explain to me the idea of Nylander on the second unit, which ultimately comes into play about 15 seconds? I thought he's shown some pop in the last couple of games. Why not put him on the first unit and just have the 2 shooting flanks and a 2-on-1 potential situation in front of the net with Marner and Tavares? Is that not a small adjustment? That's actually a big adjustment. Would you not make that?
Yeah, the challenge is, so you're going to have to. I think they like O'Reilly taking faceoffs, though, right? I think they like.
You're telling me John Tavares can't take faceoffs?
No, he can, but maybe not on the right side quite as well as Ryan O'Reilly. On the strong side, yes, he's exceptional. I also think they like Ryan O'Reilly as a puck retrieval connector. He probably does that better than John Tavares at this point. When there's a loose puck, when there's a shot, when there's a scramble, he's better at getting to it, winning a battle, keeping the puck alive in the offensive zone. And I think they probably want Mitch Marner to handle the puck a lot. And so that means he's going to be on the half wall as opposed to down by the goal line or down around the front of the net, which is where he would likely be if, Nylander was out there. Because sometimes either Nylander plays goal line or if he's going to be a shooter, then then Marner doesn't get as many touches. I'm with you, O. Like I'm suggesting what they're saying, but I'm with you. Like William Nylander has been as dangerous as anybody on Toronto this series. In fact, he's probably been the most dangerous guy.
And if the power plays are drying up, Johnny, just get him out there and try to make some hay. That power play's been dangerous in the past. They can do it again.
Yeah, get him touches, get him in the game. Absolutely. And, because getting him 20 seconds at the end, you could say, well, if the second one can run through him and it's not as great second defensive pairs or whatever, it's just not enough time. Just because you're only going to get, it seems like, 2 or 3 attempts a game right now, the way this series is going. There's very few penalties being called. And you want to get him, especially on the power play, where he can really make something happen with his skill.
We have Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst. So the Leafs reportedly stayed in a hotel last night.
Interesting.
Yeah, what do you make of that play?
So I like it as an option. Now, I get it. They've not done well, right? 1-4 at home in the playoffs so far, so maybe it's time to change it up. Back when I played for Toronto, I don't know about you, but in 99, the playoffs, we had a hotel available to you if you wanted it. So some of the guys with young kids or some of the guys who live, maybe up in Aurora or Whitby or wherever, like somewhere out of town, they would take up on it. A lot of guys would go there for their pregame naps, but stay at their houses the night before. It was kind of up to the person. But I can kind of appreciate trying something different. But at the same time, if you're someone who likes routine, like I kind of like being around my house. I kind of like the comforts of my own bed or my kids around or whatever it might be. Mandating it seems like it might unsettle some people. But, hey, at this point, try something different. You've been better on the road than you've been at home. So go with the road mentality and treat it like a road game perhaps.
I always felt like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, and you're in the playoffs, there's lots of distractions around, so they're just trying to limit them. And I'm not talking immediate family or the dog or whatever, but it's just like I once had a scenario I was telling the last hour where my landlord was knocking on my door asking for tickets at 2:30 in the afternoon while I was sleeping the day of a game. Like, you being a local guy, did you have any relatives out of the woodwork, day of the game, that type of stuff, or maybe you had to run interference, or your family had to run interference? To me, it just limits some of the stuff that you really don't want to deal with when you're trying to focus on a game.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Especially if you live in a house and people in the neighborhood know you're in the house, or whether they want to just offer you support, or you got a 10-year-old kid knock on the door, say, go get him tonight. Good intention. Be like, I don't want anyone to come by. I lived in an apartment, so it wasn't a big deal. No one could get in the apartment anyways. But, but then, if that's something that could happen, then go to the hotel. But, maybe if you live somewhere that has security or has a gated driveway or whatever, and you want to stay at home. I just didn't like being told, some people like being at home. So I wouldn't want to take someone away from that if that's not something they wanted to do.
Well, and as we said earlier, if they win tonight and they get to Game 7, you're doing it again.
Then you're never staying at home the rest of the playoffs. You're essentially on a 6-week road trip.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
Right? You can pop in. You'll never stay at home the night before the game or the day of the game. Maybe you go, if it's 2 games at home, you'd go home after Game 1 and then go back to the hotel the night between Game 1 and 2. But yes, if it works tonight, then this is the way it's going to be the rest of the way.
Johnny, Bryan Hayes was talking about the potential for a massive night in the city. A massive night. You got the Jays playing the Braves, the Leafs playing the Panthers, and Hayes said the city downtown could be electric. Who could make the city go nuts? Is it if it's an Auston Matthews game where he has a hat trick, is that what could set the city on fire more than any other athlete down there right now?
Yep, for sure. Or if Joseph Wall, but Joseph Wall might not be known enough. If he puts up a 45-save shutout or something, But I think it's Auston. He is the premier. He's the best athlete in Toronto relative to his sport, right? Nobody is as good as he is at their sport. And so if he, in a moment of must-win situation, is able to rally with a brilliant individual effort, a 4-3 hat trick having overtime game-winning goal, people would spill out of Scotia singing and dancing in the streets. They'd be streaming out of the baseball stadium, whatever it's called now, and they would join the party. They'd probably have the Leaf game up on the Jumbotron while they're at it at the baseball game. You would hear you know those moments when like it's the middle of the fourth inning, nothing going on, and the crowd erupts because everyone's watching their phone or they see it on the TV because something happens in the other sport? That's the kind of night it could be. And I think Austin is the one, Mitch as well, but Austin primarily would be the guy that could do it, and he's probably the guy most capable of doing it as well. It's funny because he's been good, not great, but good. But for him, being good results in goals. You know what I mean? Like, I could play well, create chances, but I would not score because I just don't know how to score the way he does. When he plays well and creates chances, he scores. That's what makes him the best in the world at doing that. So it's strange that he's actually played well, had some chances, and been unable to get one past Bobrovsky.
Yeah, and I think it's mandatory for his own legacy as a playoff performer. If they lose tonight and he goes scoreless, that's just a blemish on your resume. It is. Sure. Like your team went down in feeble fashion, and you, the best goal scorer in the world, the reigning Hart Trophy winner, had no goals. Like Joe Pavelski scored his 7th goal of the series last night. Joe Pavelski.
3 game winners.
And 3 game winners. Yeah, albeit he had 4 in the first game, I get it. But even take those off the board.
Fire that guy.
Yeah.
But like Matthew says, 0 through 4, and Pavelski at 38 years old has 7. I'm sorry. He's got to score. Like that is how you define his greatness. It is. Like you define his impact on the game as did he light the lamp tonight? Or if not, man, he had 12 shot attempts, 7 shots on goal.
And just a dominant
performance. Every time the puck was on his stick, just a horse through the neutral zone. And obviously sound defensively. But that's mandatory. Like that's a prerequisite if you're playing in a playoff series and you're going to play a lot of minutes up the middle of the ice. You have to be sound defensively. And I think he's done a good job at that. But the fact that, like, Marner had his game the other night. And at his moment, he scored the OT winner. Or he scored the game winner in the third period. Tavares had his game 6. And I'm not saying that Matthews has not had those moments. He did with the 2 goals in game 4 against Tampa. He scored in game 6. Like, that was big. But you're in game 5 of the next round, and he has not scored yet. And, yes, he's had dangerous moments, but not like over the top, wow, this guy, he's 100% scoring tonight type games. Like, it hasn't had that feeling yet, and I think it's mandatory it happens tonight.
And we've all seen him enough, and this is why you can say this about it, because we've seen it so many times that he's done this, right? Like, you're not asking someone who's incapable of having this moment to do it. We've all seen it. That's why that's the expectation of it. And we've all seen him, like, in the first 10 minutes of a game, you're like, okay, he's rocking and rolling tonight. Like, he has got something special cooking, and it's inevitable that he's going to score. And in games like that, it almost always happens that he does, in fact, score. Now, credit the opponent always. This is the second round of the playoffs. No one's giving him open ice. No one's going to make anything easy on him. But at the same time, like, you want to see that first 10 minutes, like, oh, okay, he's a man on a mission. And get him back on the ice every other shift. He is going to lead this team. He will not be denied. There'll be no bad luck. There'll be no, well, I was close, process, learning lesson. It's just, no, he's just getting it done. And he's good enough to do that. So that's what the Leafs are hoping for.
Yeah. Feels
like he's kind of close. And be a great night for him to break out.
Who would you be fearful on Florida to do that?
Probably Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, he also hasn't scored in the series, right? So
he was quiet last game, Johnny.
Yeah, he was.
And so, like, I think sometimes, Matthew, they're up 3, not 3-1, so he's feeling pretty good about his lot. And he also can get pretty involved in being physical, you know what I mean? Like, almost get distracted by almost trying to be so physical and so chippy. So I would be worried about him for sure. And maybe a little bit like Brandon Montour is also a guy you got to watch. Like, that guy, you just, like, he shoots it hard enough that, from 40 feet, he's trouble. So in a game doesn't feel like there'll be a ton of goals, I would be very concerned with Brandon Montour on the back end as well.
Yeah, it seems like those are the heavy hitters for Hagee as well. Duclair had a great game 3, and then I thought he faded game 4, like he really wasn't a part of the program much at all. But he's more than capable of being a guy that if you leave him open ice, you're in trouble. He'll skate right around you. But, yeah, we'll see what happens tonight in that game. Obviously, you got game 5 in Vegas tonight as well. What did you make of Pietrangelo only getting 1 game?
I mean, feels predictable given that they were going to uphold nurses. So 1-for-1 is I think that's part of the conversation. Like, both guys will miss one game. Both teams seemingly equally hurt without their guy, and they don't have to distinguish one is worse than the other. Now, there's no question which is worse. Pietrangelo's was ridiculous. From over his head, I don't care if he could have hit him harder. I don't care if he could have hit him on bone. I don't care if he could have broken his wrist, and he didn't. Like, you can't take your stick in frustration from over your head and slam it into a guy's forearm. Like, that's got to be worth multiple games. But now I guess they'd say, well, that would be worth 2 in the regular season, and that's 1 in the playoffs, so that's why it makes sense that it's just 1. But if anyone was going to go deeper, it's certainly Pietrangelo. You can make a pretty clean case that was, without hitting a guy in the head or seriously injuring someone, that's about as bad as a slash you're going to see in today's NHL.
We were joking yesterday, when you have that suspension call, because O and I have both had suspension calls, unfortunately.
So have I, Noodles.
What did you do?
Dude, I gave the people's elbow to Yanni Laukkanen for 2-gamer when he was with Ottawa. Don't kid yourself.
Describe it. I need to hear this.
Wait
a minute here.
Yes.
What'd you get?
What happened?
I got a 2-gamer back in 99 or 98. Like, I spent the last 2 games of the season, one of which we beat Florida 10-1, and I missed out on point night. So I was choked up there watching Steve Sullivan score 4 to get to 20. But yeah, it was a high flipper, and I was kind of frustrated in the game. So we're playing Ottawa, and so he was standing still at the red line. I was skating towards him. I jumped to try to catch the puck, thinking if I caught it, I'd fly right by him in the air and he'd be in for a breakaway. I, of course, was nowhere near catching it. I'm not an outfielder by trade. And so he catches it, and as I'm flying, I'm in the air flying past him, I stick my elbow out right in his chin. He had a concussion, unfortunately. He missed some time and everything. 5 in the game, did the whole call, the whole bit, and you're trying to plead your case with a little bit more sincerity than I just did, but essentially that's what I'm describing. And then, obviously, I think, I get 14 penalty minutes a year. I'm not a tough, rough and tumble player. And they're like, okay. Their mind was so made up. It didn't matter. I got a Johnny Cochran defending me. It would not have mattered. I was going to get my 2 games no matter what. And it was 15 minutes later, okay, 2 games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a formality. At least when I went through it, it felt like that.
That's amazing. We'll call you back in 10.
Yeah.
You're down 2-gamer.
Yeah. We're going to really deliberate this for a while.
I love it. You call it the people's elbow.
That would have been when The Rock was right at his heyday, too, in the late 90s, man. That's probably down at the Gardens,
too. And you get fined, right? It costs you, 2 days' pay, which always doesn't feel very good.
Yeah, that's not good, man.
That was not
good.
But that was my point is, what does Pietrangelo say on that call? If I wanted to hurt him, I would have broke his wrist. You say something like that, or you just kind of go, hey, it was, I didn't like
mercy of the court. I'm throwing myself mercy of the court. There is nothing he could say. I could have hit him harder. I could have aimed for bone. That's not going to get you off the hook. I think all he could say was, I've been getting railroaded from behind and cross-checked in the face. And yeah, I gave him a slash, but I didn't try to hurt him. If I wanted to, I could have.
Yeah.
That's all he could say.
Yeah.
And maybe that's true. But then you play the video, you're like, but you're playing Lumberjack Bob. You don't get to do this. Yeah. This is not 1974.
No, that was significant.
That was a wild swing that we just cannot tolerate. So yeah, there is I don't one of those ones, Noodles, where you're like, do I even bother going on the call? Hey, you saw what happened. It was dumb.
Yeah, you're probably pleading. You're probably pleading for 1. You're pleading for less games.
Right.
You're not pleading to get off the hook.
Suspension.
Yeah, you understand you're getting suspended, but don't give me 2+.
Yeah. The worst thing is when somebody basically asks you, what did you see on the play? And you have to try to explain the tomahawk chop as being something different than it was.
A hockey play.
Yeah.
I saw a hockey play.
I thought he was going to drive wide.
Yeah.
I didn't see him put the puck towards the empty net.
You got to make up something stupid. I tried to hit his shin pad. You have to say something that's so outrageous and everybody in the room knows it's false. And then you got to live with it.
You know what I liked that we haven't even brought up is that McDavid went over there immediately and at least got at him a little bit. I appreciate that because neither guy is a fighter. Neither guy's looking to be.
No.
Pietrangelo is bigger than McDavid, though. And
I do respect that.
I respect
McDavid
that.
went right to him.
Yep,
not going to do much, but he was pissed.
Yeah.
was pissed afterwards too. Said the comment about that's a suspension every
well,
day of
that's
the week.
kind of the way it's played now, right? Like the coach gets heavy on that, the players get heavy on that. You're always lobbying, and Petrangelo's a big piece.
Yeah.
How do you see that game playing out tonight?
I've been thinking about who does it hurt more, guys? Does it hurt Edmonton to lose Nurse than it does Vegas to lose Pietrangelo?
Pietrangelo is a bigger piece, a way bigger piece.
I do too. I think he's a bigger piece.
My thing is, though, yes, he's better, and yes, he's the lead dog, but Vegas has more good defensemen.
Yes.
Like,
true.
You're going to have Kulak on the second pair and Broberg and Desharnais on the third pair. All of a sudden, you're like, wait a second. Like, Broberg and Ceci? Like, that's got to make our second pair go? So, like, it feels like because they have Theodore and Haig and Whitecloud and just, more guys that could just pick up a little bit of slack. Not to suggest he's not better, but I almost think it hurts Edmonton more because they're thinner back there. They don't have as many good options to replace him, even that, they're clearly not going to be as good as the guy they're trying to replace.
I think two things, too. It might be you play your top four with Ekholm, Bouchard, and Kulak and Ceci, and then you bleed that third pairing in. The problem is you're on the road. You don't get those matchups.
Right.
Like that's a Desharnais. I think he's solid on the penalty kill. He's a big kind of shot block. Desharnais is literally Justin Hull for the fan bases. Like big kind of
Except way slower and not as good with the puck.
Exactly, but Desharnais plays meaner.
Tougher.
Tougher. Yeah.
Right. So but that's my point is both fan bases kind of have he's a targeted person,
yes.
Put it that way.
A little bit of a whipping
Justin
boy
Hull here.
type of situation.
Mm-hmm. So
Justin Hull's just back in the lineup, and it's like, accept it.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, it's all good. He's right back in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Well, it'll be a good one tonight. Canadian content, it's available to us, so we'll see how it plays out. And early next week, we'll know if the Leafs are still alive or if they're not. And I guess the same could apply with the Oilers as well. All right, Johnny, we'll leave it there. Have a great weekend, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
All right, boys. Hey, are you going to the game and continue the bad mojo?
Yes, I am. I'm going to the game, and I'm going to get roasted if they lose tonight.
Because this is where you're stuck. You're stuck between being the Leaf fan you've been since a young lad,
yes,
and the professional broadcaster you now are.
Right.
So you have to go down there for your job.
Right. I have obligations. I've said I'm going to be down there.
Are you already committed to SportsCenter?
Yes, I have.
But let's say if you weren't on SportsCenter and someone offered you a ticket, straight fanboy experience, you're like, listen, they've lost every game I've been there. I can't go. Would you do that? Or are you like, no, I'm going anyways?
I think because of what I said last hour that downtown Toronto tonight might be one of the 3 or 4 best places on earth. So I'd like to be a part of it. Oh, it's beautiful here, Johnny. It's like 30 degrees. The Jays are home. Leafs in action. It's going to be a big one downtown. So I kind of want to be there for the action, but I'm going down to work. Ultimately, I'm a professional.
Right.
So yes, I would accept the ticket.
You're looking for some action under the guise of work. I know.
Yes.
We all know exactly what you're doing.
Right.
We've all been there.
Yes. Get the work done, and then we'll see what happens
afterwards. And then
afterwards.
get to work. Right.
Exactly. That's kind of my plan tonight. So I'll keep you posted how it goes.
All right. You
all
be safe down there when the city's going off.
I will. I'll make sure of it. Thank you, Johnny.
Have a good weekend, guys.
There he is, Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota. Check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, news of me going to the barn has made its way halfway around the world. Johnny's in Latvia.
Trending on Twitter, that's why. It's because of that picture he posted.
Yeah, the picture that this guy posted. Now they're finding other pictures of me and making, putting disguises on those pictures. People are so creative.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't do anything for society, but it's very creative.
I love it.
Dude, screw it. You're going to the game.
What do you want me to do? I don't play the game. I'm not on the ice plan.
No.
Nothing you can do to.
You're going to be a part of a big victory tonight. I know it.
Listen, I've been there 3 games. They're 0-3. The other games, the games I weren't there for, they're 1-1. Like, they lost when I also wasn't.
Well, what was brought up today, Hazy, is I think it was game 1. They were up 2-0, and then you showed up.
That is factually correct. I got to the seats.
Well, it's not like
and it like CJ and Pierre, they're like, you wouldn't believe how good they looked. I'm like, I know, I was listening. It sounds amazing. They're up 2-0. And literally the first thing I saw was Nylander turnover, Barkov brutal goal.
Yeah.
Matthews turnover, back of the net 2-2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Like, that was the first thing I saw live, was those first 2 shifts of the second period game 2.
That Charlie Brown, the guy Pigpen with the cloud. Like, you're not this cloud.
No, what do you want me to do about it? This is the best part. It's my fault. LeBron's been down there every game they lose.
Yeah.
CJ, why aren't those guys? How about you get the hell out? I'll put my feet up.
Exactly.
Right? You guys take a lap. Every time Al's brother's down there, Julia's been down there for a couple of losses. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
You're going to be a part of a big victory. I know it.
We'll see. And I will play no role in that. Win, lose, or draw. It has no bearing on whether or not I am in the building, the city, the country, the hemisphere.
Wrestle Tatty for an ice cream sandwich. That's what he's got to do.
That is something I plan on doing, is sending a text to those 2 guys,
right,
Frankie and Tatty, and saying, save me something. I'm so hungry when I get down there. Save me something, please. Yeah. All right. Overdrive continues. We got Rod Brindamore coming up in just over half an hour. Dear Hazy B in an hour. TSN 1050 and up on TSN 4. Mail It In Fridays, brought to you by Boston Pizza's new playoff menu, developed using Fanalytics. BP's run the numbers to craft the perfect playoff menu, which includes our winged ribs, the new league leader in wings above replacement. Visit BP for puck drop tonight. What a spot. Down on front, there's a lot of great BPs all over the GTA, clearly, but that Boston Pizza down on front is dialed in.
Didn't we
perfect
do a
spot
show from there once?
I think we have been down there.
Went
yes,
down there. We did something.
That's right.
We were in there. Once,
but you're like right in the middle. You can see the dome and you can see the Scotiabank Arena from that Boston Pizza, basically.
Great area.
It's a perfect spot. The Tapman's tweeting in about what might be available down there.
Like what? Like ice cream sandwiches or what?
Well, basically, Taddy's trying to keep me out of the building as well. Like, he's in on that. So he has already put out word that if he manages to get in, there will be no ice cream bars available.
You got to see the eating routine he has. Full medium meal beforehand, double up on the ice cream sandwiches, and then a full bag of chips and a big serving of popcorn.
Yeah, that's a whole.
How does he stay
night,
that thin?
Man. I don't know. He's in shape, and he sounds great on the air too. You eat that much food, that can really throw off your whole equilibrium on the air.
I feel like the Tat Man is one of those guys who does old school calisthenics every morning. Gets up, stretching, doing walk, and
if he got a growl on in the middle of the game, he would send me down to the main bowl to get him something to eat, like a burrito.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're like his intern, basically.
He would just say, go get me some food. I got to do this.
Yeah. You're a nobody. Head downstairs.
Exactly what he did.
Well, Jason Tatum is not a nobody. And he started 0 for 10 last night. It was ugly, a do-or-die game for Boston. They come back, they end up winning. And now Philly is panicking because they got to hit the road. It's Embiid, it's Harden, it's Doc Rivers, right? They couldn't close last night. Now you got to go into Boston. You got to try to close. But Tatum had himself a fourth quarter. And the Celtics, to their credit, I picked them last night, FanDuel Best Bets. I thought they would win that ball game. I also thought Phoenix would. They got dummied by Denver. That's a story too, man. KD just never found
his rhythm.
A rhythm down there. That was such a big trade, and now Phoenix is out in the second round.
He took some accountability, though. He said, you know what, it's on me. We stunk, and I got to be better. We all got to be better.
They got blown out at home last night. Crushed at home last night. But here's Jason Tatum post-game with ESPN about his status as a player in the NBA.
Humbly, one of the best basketball players in the world. Go through struggles, go through slumps. It's a long game. And, thankfully I got some great teammates that held it down.
Humbly, one of the greatest players in the world.
I kind of like the comment.
Here's the thing. It's the truth. He was just voted first-team All-NBA. Legitimately one of the 4 or 5 best players in the NBA. And, is he always top 5? Probably not. But I'd say he's top 10, top 12, top 15, consistently.
I kind of like the comment because you don't usually get that. You get people that are really humble saying, if I make that team, I think Connor Bedard, what he said about playing in the NHL, he's if I make the team, stuff like that.
So silly.
Right.
I kind of like it when it goes the other way and the guy's like, I'm one of the best players in the world, man, and I'm going to turn it around sooner or later.
I agree with that. What I would do is if I was editing him, I would say just drop the humbly. Drop that. It's not necessary. Just state your fact. Like he said, so you're going to have ups and downs, but when it gets hot, look out. That's what happened last night.
Yeah, I know I'm that good.
Yes.
I don't know. I just
humbly one of the best in the world.
But you're not humble. Like if you're saying that, you're not being humble. That's
technically not that humble.
No,
but also not untrue, Noodles.
No, right? Listen, he's
not untrue.
An amazing player. But you're right. Don't say the word humble because you're not being humble when you literally back it up saying I'm the best or one of the best.
Just drop it.
Exactly.
Drop humbly. Drop the in Facebook.
Exactly.
Right? Just go with Facebook.
Yeah.
And just go with one of the best players in the world. I saw the report, I guess it was this morning I saw this, that the production team of The Last Dance, remember The Last Dance, how that basically saved TV production in COVID?
Yeah.
Remember early COVID? ESPN moved up The Last Dance, and Scott Van Pelt was doing post-game shows of the show as if it was like a real sporting event. That was wild.
Yeah.
Remember that? I was like,
right.
It would have been May 2020. I remember watching it, like Scott Van Pelt having different guests on. Like, what do you see in the episode? What do you think how does it set up for episode 3? I'm like, guys, we know what happens. They won. And then it was all broken up.
But, dude, that's the only thing anyone on the planet was watching.
That's all we had.
It literally was.
OverDrive and The Last Dance.
We were on. We were pumping out 15 hours a week of content.
With no sports.
With absolutely no sports. And nothing happening in the world.
How long did we do that?
Months.
It wasn't until August, like
we
late
did that
July.
for 4 months, didn't we?
Yeah, we did it through the end of March. Now, you had some stuff pop up, right? Like the NFL had their draft. They had free agency. Golf came back kind of quickly.
I think J-Mac just told us, just go home and then fire up again when hockey started in the summer.
We never took a day off. Like, we were on every single day. But again, there was nothing else to draw on because there was nothing happening in our lives. Like, there was major stuff happening, but you weren't leaving your house. The reason I bring it up is because it's been reported the production crew of The Last Dance is following the Lakers this season. So they're going to do like a Last Dance for LeBron, but he's not retiring, and I don't get the impression like they expected it to be blown up. It'll have a very different complexion, but I guess
I wouldn't watch it. Like, it wouldn't be.
It won't be the same
TV
thing
for me.
It won't be the same thing. And I'm like, did LeBron pitch it? You know, be like, if MJ got it, you got to give me a Last Dance. But it won't be the same thing because there's not like Jerry Krause was the antagonist of that. I don't know who that is with the Lakers.
Yeah,
and there's no guarantee the Lakers are going to win. They're in action tonight.
Plus,
Game
Jordan's 6. Characters around him, like Rodman, like the telling story about Rodman, like MJ flew to Vegas to drag him out of that hotel room. What's LeBron doing? Not doing any. Showing up with a glass of wine when he's hurt, sitting in the luxury box with Magic Johnson.
But that means there's cameras that were around the Lakers a couple of nights ago.
Craziest thing about
so when
that.
Anthony Davis left that, there's a chance there was a camera crew in the back. That's worthy of checking out. You never know.
The craziest thing I found about that documentary is when Scottie Pippen refused to go on the field when he didn't get the call for the play.
Yeah. That
year that Jordan was off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were playing the Nets, and he didn't get the call, so he said, I'm not going out there.
Put somebody else on. Well, and also remember the finances that came out of Scottie, like his family, like his upbringing, and how they basically duped him into a contract that was incredibly team friendly.
Right.
And that was a big part of the animosity as well, that like Pippen just was making like
peanuts compared to everybody
relatively
else.
Speaking, he was making nothing compared to who he was, like Scottie Pippen. Yes, the number 2 to MJ, but one of the 5 or 6 best players. He won all those titles too, and he didn't make bank until he left.
Yeah.
I think he signed in Portland. He ended up making a lot of money, and he's obviously made a lot of money now throughout his life. But he signed a quick deal, long-term deal that locked in some money, and I think there was a lot of bitterness there too. And he wasn't involved because he didn't like the way MJ was kind of speaking about him, if I can recall correctly, and the way he was portrayed.
There was some animosity there, right? Like there was.
And maybe that happens with this Lakers team. I don't know. Like Russell Westbrook was there, and then he's out. Like that's a character that could play a role in all of this. And
I would like to know
Austin Reeves and what he's done second half of the year.
Anthony Davis just sitting on the bench when LeBron hit the all-time
when he
points?
passed Kareem. Maybe that's the nature of this, is him chasing Kareem.
Right.
And you're right. When LeBron scored those,
the points and passing Kareem's up there. Everyone's high-fiving.
Yeah.
Davis is just sitting there. Like, all right, let's get on with the game type of thing.
Well, maybe there's an episode revolving around that. I'm sure there will be.
Maybe it is must watch.
I think it will be compelling because it's really well done.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be as like that. Michael Jordan was like, I need to watch that like now.
And also because it literally was
during COVID.
The end. It was COVID, but also that was like he was leaving.
Yeah.
Like LeBron's still, I think, going to be a Laker next year. And I don't get the impression like it's anywhere close to the same situation. But that doesn't mean that's what they're actually seeking out. It's more so if you do a great job and you produce great content, people will tune in. I certainly will check it out, but I'm not sure it's going to match The Last Dance. 4 years ago tonight, Kawhi Leonard hit that Game 7 shot against Philly.
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Crap. I had to FaceTime you when they won.
Yeah, 4 years ago. Now Nick Nurse isn't even here anymore.
It is a
Nick Nurse.
Moved
4
on
years
quick.
ago, Nick Nurse is already gone. Yeah, so that's been circulating on Twitter. All right, Rob Brindamore in about 20 minutes. Head coach of the only team into the conference final. They win in overtime last night. And Dear Hazy be in about 45. We're going up to puck drop right here on TSN Radio. You're here in the game right here on TSN Radio. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, so today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. We have a same-game parlay for the Maple Leaf game tonight, Leafs Panthers. We're going over 5.5 total goals tonight. Alternate line, over 5.5. There has to be goals tonight. I could see it being a 5-4 wild game.
Absolutely.
Like at some point, that's going to happen. Like it's going to break.
I'm going to call it high-scoring. Austin Matthews puts on a show.
Well, that's why we're also on Austin Matthews anytime goal scorer tonight. Morgan Riley 2+ shots on goal, and the Leafs minus 0.5 first period puck line. So Leafs in the lead after 20. Leafs have had good starts in this building, and then someone shows up, and all of a sudden things change.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth. But I think the Leafs get off to a good start tonight. And I think Matthews gets on the board. It's got to be bothering him. Like goal scorers that aren't scoring goals, especially in big games,
it's the
only
only thing in your life.
Yeah.
You wake up, you're like, that's all you think about, man.
Yeah, kind of got to get one. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Same-game parlays are now available for every NHL game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. Yeah, he's got to have one. Got to have a night. Got to have a night. And if it's not him, obviously other players have to factor in as well. Even if he does have a big night, other players have to factor in.
You got to have a win.
But you got to be on the ball, man. You got to be on the ball tonight.
I don't I think, like I said the other night, they win 2-1. Doesn't matter who scored. You got to score. You got to win. You got to fight to live another day. Because guess what? You play Friday. There's another game Sunday. By the time we show up here Monday, it's either Game 7 or we're talking about their season over. Because that's 2 games before we get to talk again.
Well, that is very true. Like we're on Monday. Like
say they win tonight, it's not a foregone conclusion. They go down there and win.
Of course.
Like yeah, the pressure could shift and all that. They could go down and lose in 6.
Yes.
There's 2 games before we get to talk on Monday. You get to talk afterwards.
I do get to talk afterwards.
We don't.
That is true.
Actually.
You'll be on the panel tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a very valid point. Like if they were to lose tonight, we get back on Monday. Cooler heads will have prevailed, I think. Likely have done locker cleanup. Who knows? Win tonight, lose Sunday, raw emotion Monday. But win tonight, win Sunday.
Then it's Monday on.
Monday.
But that's the thing. Like there's a lot more.
Very
it's not
different
just
Monday.
tonight. We're talking a 2-game pack potentially.
Yes.
Before we're back on Monday at 4 p.m.
That's right. We'll chat then.
Well, we'll chat. Yes, exactly.
We will chat then.
At some point, yes.
And Canada at the Worlds will continue to be rocking. They had a big win today, so.
Well.
A great win.
A great win. Yeah. I saw Lindsay Hamilton's made her way over there. Lindsay with a little post on IG.
You know what? We should have hit up MJ about what he's up to over there, too. What's the time change? 7 hours?
It's a long. It was kind of awkward for us to ask Johnny because he's probably exhausted. But, hey.
Are you exhausted, though, or do you get to go out and enjoy yourself after a game?
I think that applies at the World Championships. We should ask Gord Miller about that. Like, Gord's done how many? 30?
Yeah.
How many different countries has he been to?
But, you should call the game, then you go for beers afterwards because it is part of the routine. It's everyone's together. You enjoy yourself. Like, was Johnny calling us from outside a pub?
Possibly. Didn't sound like it. It sounded like a hotel line, but
But is he sitting at home tonight watching the Leaf game at 3 o'clock in the morning? What time
I'll
is it?
tell you what, Gord Miller knows every single international person involved in hockey. Every World Juniors I'm at, he's like, I can't go out for dinner. I'm going out with the Swedish... the
trainer from the
whole front office from Sweden. I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, really? But he does.
Yeah. Yeah. He's...
I mean, the guys from Finland over at the golf course and getting them set up for golf. I'm like,
but really? It'll be the most obscure thing with Gord. You're right. It's somebody from Sweden, but it's like, I met a couple on a train, and they're coming in from Germany, so we're going to go for dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
the guy's an international man of mystery.
That's what he is.
Yeah, he really is. He's been doing it for a long time. Doing it for a long, long time. Shout out to Gord Miller. Halfway around the world.
Shout out to the worlds. Shout out to everyone over there and everybody involved.
All right, we got Rod Brindamore coming up and Dear Hazy B at 6:30. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.